watch and view us. Um, Good afternoon. This is Education is the Best Medicine, hosted by the Eyes of the Conscious Soul. And just want to kind of say thank you everyone for tuning in and letting me become a part of your afternoon. And look forward to se- uh, sorry about that. We're always in a constant mode of adjustment, so we'll keep it moving. I want to thank everyone for tuning in to Education is the Best Medicine, um, and want again thank my host, Ms. Barbara Howard, who is away again. Please tune in. This is going to be a listening event in regard to the African American Hub. So please hit her email up and her contact information to find out when that's going to be. I promised her I would announce it. I have my own concerns and issues around a hub, but I would say follow the evidence and see what they're talking about. I think we always have to entertain different points of views and different issues in order to be a more richer society. And of course, uh, this month is Breast Cancer Month. It's also the ending of Hispanic Heritage Month, and I'm at a point in my life in my career where I have to just kind of call things out and deal with it because I think it's a part of our health and our growth and our maturity. And there's been a real big ruckus over in LA, southern part of our state, in regards to a city council member, Hispanic female, who uh, a council person on that she's a council person with has a blended family. He's a white male, has a African American child, and so the head of the uh, city council decided to not only talk about this child, but also discuss something called replacement politics or replacement. In other words, to get the Hispanic agenda forward. But this is called a tape, and she since then has resigned. And then with the other two council persons that were in this meeting with her to resign also. I just bring it up because I say we have a long way to go from a cultural and social and political standpoint. Institutional structural racism affects us all. It has traumatized us. It has traumatized and created this pecking order in regards to color and language. And again, it all has a racist backdrop to it. That being said, I want to again kind of highlight the Hispanic Heritage Month, and I want to make sure that people vote. Please go out and vote. I just took my third booster. It hurt my arm. It was, oh man, but I got it done. And I think everyone needs to get the boosters. Again, 30% of us aren't vaccinated, including children. They're already talking about, I think, again, in Southern California, I hate to be picking on them, and about 1,000 high school seniors got sick with the flu. So, uh, um, what this says is that we need to be more proactive as opposed to reactive. Uh, the reason why we haven't had flu, the reason why COVID, for the most part, did not have the impact it could have, is that we were masking, social distancing, washing our hands, um, that kind of thing. And so all that has gone by the wayside now, and we're moving into holiday and indoor activities in terms of school. That's why I think the big impact is going to happen. because again, uh, we've gotten behind in terms of the immunizations of kids and vaccinations for ourselves. And people have let their guard down. And this is why I think Dr. Fauci, bless his heart, is retiring, and not saying anything else because he doesn't want to deal with being attacked and for just stating factual data over his understanding as a one of the preeminent infectious disease doctors. So I will always say now we're in a point where lies can be truth and truths can be lies. And that's why I want people to, again, go vote, understand the issues, and let your voice be heard. That's what it's about. Um, I think at 67 now I can draw some analogies and some thought processes, and I'll begin with Clarence Thomas, the Supreme Court Justice, who sided in a 6-3 discussion to roll back Roe versus Wade. And with that, he is talking about rolling back LBGT rights, the right to marry. All these things are on the table now. And I don't think they believe the blowback that they were going to have. I just honestly don't believe that. And again, the reason why I bring up Clarence Thomas is because I'm an African American man that believes that this individual was the victim of a high tech lynching and that he would go and sit on the Supreme Court and do the right thing. He would evaluate things fairly, honestly, not necessarily give a decision that everyone would like, but not one that just was totally devoid of, in my case, in my thought, legal intellect and moving more toward base instincts. You know, so instead of making decisions in regards to the law, because if they were to follow the precedent, which means is that whenever a law has been made and there's a series of laws that follow it, that's the precedent for those laws. And Roe v. Wade had precedents. And when you decide to not honor that precedence, then anything can happen legally. And that's what we're talking about now. That's what we're talking about in terms of this whole discussion around, you know, how people are being put in place because the discussion around January the 6th, believe it or not, has to do with right people being in place to do the right thing, not the wrong thing. I would have to commandeer Vice President at that time Pence, uh, um, uh, Nancy Pelosi, huge, absolutely huge. Whatever they were saying about her lack of presence there, go view the videotapes. Go see who was saying, get people in here so we can have the vote. So, as a representative and a woman in leadership, applaud it. Which gets me to my last thing before we talk about, because this is breast cancer month, is again back to Clarence Thomas. I trusted that he was going to do the right thing. And as we can see, he has not. Fast forward to 2022 and Herschel Walker. So I have to ask myself, and I hope the Georgians ask themselves, do we believe he's going to do the right thing, or is he a person that obviously is party over country? And I don't believe that if you really, in final analysis, evaluate his truth thermometer, you have to question it. Because you can't be for abortion and then in front of everybody say, no, that isn't true. You can't push family values and then when, quote unquote, don't want to take care of the children that you have, be trusted to pull the levels of power. That's just my thought. Um, and again, we were talking about breast cancer last week, and I think one of the things that I want to emphasize is that women, all women, women with a history as well as some men, need to have mammograms. They need to have mammograms as a screening tool, like they have a cervical exam, uh, any of that. It's just preventative. It's proactive as opposed to being reactive. Um, I think that again, we noted that uh, breast cancer is the most common cancer among African American women. Uh, I think lung cancer and breast cancer and cervical cancer kind of play in there, but again, you know, and it's probably underdiagnosed and undertreated, particularly post COVID. There are a lot of women now, and I'm urging women to go and get their mammograms if they haven't gotten them done. They need to get them done. To schedule them. If you're not going to wear a mask, if you're not concerned about COVID, go get your mammogram. And if you are, then put on your mask, get your vaccine, and go get your mammogram. That's the overriding concept I found is that early detection, early assessment, early treatment, make it happen. I would like to thank all the breast cancer survivors during uh, Breast Cancer Awareness Month. We always talk about the people that are sick, but we seldom talk about the survivors. And this is why early assessment, early treatment. This is why the need for access to health care so that women can access these services. Um, it's kind of concerning to me that we still have a system where there's a problem of women without money or means having access to a screening um, mammogram that could literally save their life and save the system money because the earlier we assess it and get it in treatment, the better the outcome. The later the delay from fear, from lack of access, from historical uh, um, issues in terms of us not getting the care that we need because the people that are giving us the care don't really want us to have it. I always say, is public health still public? Is it really, really public? I think COVID kind of showed the inequities in the system and who has access and who has not. And I can remember, again, a number of people being concerned around whether folks with medical insurance were going to be prevented from being cared by those that didn't have insurance. And now, does it make a difference? It's access. It's having providers there. Um, again, I point to a physician medical forum on in a white paper on a discussion of African American physician, a vital and endangered resource. Truly, that's the case. Over the last 5 years, 5 of my colleagues, physician supervisors, have retired. They've gotten out of medicine. What is going on so much that they would not want to practice anymore? And it's a almost a discussion about that. And instead of them carrying the same stature, the same weight, instead of their experience being a benefit, it's a negative. It's a negative. And that is where the institutional and structural racism comes in because, you know, no one is supposed to be smarter than those that are running it. No one is supposed to have that much experience. No one's supposed to know the things that happen in the souls and the hearts of people of color because we're all the same. Well, if we're all the same, we are still number one in hypertension. We're still number one in diabetes. We're still number one in cancer. We're still number one in infant mortality. We're still number one in all these things. So I submit that we have to have care models that, one, are evidence-based and provide a functionality that says that I want you here, I want to see you, I have the best for you, I want your needs addressed, I want you to feel respected and cared in the system. And until that happens, then the numbers will continue to be one. In terms of like we have an increase in STIs now, sexually transmitted diseases. You know, increase in congenital syphilis. That means that babies have mothers that have been exposed to syphilis, and those kids are usually stillborn. This is 2022. You know. Anyway, um, and I think that you know, even though you don't have a history of breast cancer, uh, this is running your family, you still can have a breast cancer. Uh, and again, it's not necessarily a lump that you feel in your breast. It's just a change in your breast, the color of the skin, orange look, peeling. That just is different. Discharge from the nipples. Um, um, Interesting enough, the uh, some of the causes of hormonal changes, age, more at risk 40 years of age and older. Again, personal history of breast cancer. So, um, lifestyles, excessive alcohol use tend to be issues in terms of breast cancer risk. Environmental factors include radiation. Again, we talk about environmental toxicity in the communities that we live in, from car exhaust, from exposure, from uh, things being buried under the ground that seep out. Gas stations. That whole issue. Interesting if I saw some areas as I evolved in Oakland. There were once gas stations and now they're apartments. The underlying foundation was that of a gas station. Now, I'm sure all the environmental things happened. They were all cleaned out and all that. But if you go to San Francisco, that didn't happen. Um, there's just clearing out, I guess, the Oakland um, uh, Maritime Station, Oakland Army Base, so they can be created for housing and issue. But again, it has to do with the cleanup of these once used arenas for gasoline or for storage or for anything. Uh, Obesity and overweight again, issues due to breast cancer. Uh, uh, Pregnancy, becoming pregnant at an older age or never having been pregnant. That's kind of really interesting. Either you're not pregnant or you're pregnant at an older age. It has to do with the hormonal offshoot, and estrogen and progesterone. Um, Again, from a natural cycle of things, as we age, these things are winding down. For women, it's menopause. For men, it's andropause. Um, and the use of long-term contraceptives and contraceptives, like combination estrogen progesterone pills or either progesterone pills or any combination of those particular drugs that can control a woman's cycle. It's always been an issue with that. And at some points in my career, dating myself, we thought that the use of hormone like control pills could help with heart disease. Well, we found out that it didn't, maybe even made it worse, and now they're going back to maybe it can. So again, further study. Um, and and we and I think I want to really assure women that yes, the uh, diagnosis of breast cancer is terrifying, and whether you find it yourself, uh, we know that it's life changing, and so you know it can be incidental that you find it, but once you find it, you need to act on it. And luckily, breast lumps, usually fatty breast lumps, are non-cancerous. And they're just benign. They're just lumps in the breast. It can include fluid, fat, deposits of calcium. But uh, you still have to have it evaluated. You still need the mammogram, and if further evaluation are needed, ultrasound, biopsy, you need to do that. You need to be okay with getting it done because the quicker it's done, the quicker a treatment issue may be provided. As a team. These things are done in team. They're not done by themselves anymore. You're usually going to have a breast cancer team around you in whatever system you're in. Um, and uh, Again, from a natural history standpoint, I guess this is why again we became kind of not as alert or not as attuned as we should, because black women had a lower incidence of breast cancer than white women. But that gap has closed, and we're not sure why. Um, and this is from a article, uh, "Breast Cancer in Black Women," in the Health Divide series. And uh, I think that the discussion that we have to have is, why aren't women getting evaluated? Why aren't they being assessed quickly? Why do they wait so long? What's the fear? Uh, we need to make it a part of a tree that says that if you come down a mental health pathway or a medical pathway, if you don't have had a mammogram in a year and you're over 40, you need to be referred for one. Somebody needs to do it. Um, and I think that the other piece is that although at that point black women were having less cancer, when they did get cancer, they died from it quicker. It says black women having about 40% higher likelihood of dying from breast cancer than women of other races. Why is that? We don't know why. Again, uh, is it a weight issue? Is it an exercise issue? Is it a nutrition issue? Is it an environmental issue? Is it a cultural issue? What is driving it? What is driving the fact that black women, and when I say black women, I'm talking about African American women that are part of the 1619 Project, that we speak of in the white paper on reparations, the California uh, paper on reparations white paper. That's what I'm speaking of specifically. You know, black women get breast cancer, but I'm specifically talking about that group of women. Uh, and so around the 1990s, breast cancer uh, rates were among the lowest for black women in any race. But over the past 20 years, despite a universal drop in death rates, there has been a rise in incidence of breast cancer in women. Now, the question is, why is that? Is it diet? Is it lack of exercise? Is it stress? Is it lack of healthcare access? Is it environmental toxins? We're having a big issue with water, particularly in the state of California, but all over the country. And particularly communities of color where the water sources have been contaminated, and folks are continuing to drink this water to a point of they can't drink anymore, and they just bathe in it, but they don't drink it, they don't cook with it. So environmental and structural lack of access to a community is racist. It's structural. It's environmental. It's health racism. It's a public health issue. Um, so again, and that's what we've been seeing a rise in the incidence of breast cancer in Black women. For women under 50, the disparity is even greater. So again, you have to understand over a 35-year period, when I was seeing breast cancer in women, the women were 50 plus. Now it's 40 and under. What's going on? Where's the studies? Where's the evaluation? Look, and I have to say that when I first started practicing, this kind of information didn't even exist because they thought it was racist. And when I talked about race and health, I was considered to be a racist. It changed my trajectory of my career, but I had to talk about what I saw because it's the community I worked in and lived in, and as I do today. So, to the mortality rate for women over 50, under 50, among young black women is double that of young white women. So now we're seeing breast cancer approach younger women. And my point to this is that's why we need screening. That's why we need early screening and early evaluation. One of the reasons I did the uh, piece on gastrointestinal issues with women is that I had, in practice, met a young African American woman who had a lot of client colon issues with diarrhea, stools, and she's like less than 30, as I remember. And I asked that they do a colonoscopy. I just read some things about colon cancer being more prominent, and one of the better ways to evaluate folks with these kind of problems was colonoscopy. Got blowback from the insurance company, but because of her symptomatology, they agreed to do it. She was set up, prep, and we didn't. Maybe it was an issue with the prepping, but they said they could not get the uh, scope into her rectum because it was too many polyps. And so she had a thing called familial polyposis, which is that the entire family had to be evaluated because the entire three-quarters of the family had colon polyps, had never been evaluated. So that's what screening does, early screening. But the fact that she was a young African American woman would have had other clinicians saying that you're fine, take some Pepto Bismol, you don't need further evaluation, that kind of thing. But she was in a lot of distress, and I felt that the referral process, a little cumbersome at that time, still is, got her to the right people that saw her, evaluate her, and her family. Um, so this may become a familiar thing in terms of breast cancer for young women. And if they're from foster homes or don't know their lineage, then it's going to be important that they be screened because you don't know. So, unheard of in women under 40 getting mammograms, this is a really distinct reason given the system, but some that may be the order of the day given the family history. That's why family history is becoming so important. And so, again, we talked about that. The major cancer type, one of the major cancer types, when you figure out, you find a lump and you biopsy it, it's a HR2 minus, plus minus type. It makes up more than half of the breast cancers in black women, and they also experience an increase in the risk of breast cancer related to death when those diagnoses in stage 2 and stage 3. And so against the HR negative estrogen, negative progesterone on the biopsy. And so these again cancers. So it makes sense that the most lethal type of cancer is affecting um, young African American women, and the treatments aren't very good because it's one of the more aggressive cancers. So that's why we have to do screening. That's why I'm asking women to get screened early. And if you think you have a family history of risk in breast cancer, then you need to probably screen as a someone under 40 that needs a a mammogram. Now, understood that women are still in their cycles and still have the ability to. That's why 40 is a cutoff because this has to do with hormonal changes and but again we're just seeing it earlier uh, in younger women, and these young women are sometimes pregnant. This is even more interesting. Um, uh, Despite advancing treatment that are dramatically reduce breast cancer mortality, the positive effects have not been equally beneficial to all groups. It says another contributor is delayed diagnosis and treatment, which is the result of persistent socioeconomic gaps and lack of access to quality care for Black women. My point. And so we are still in 2020 failing to be able to access the standard of care that will probably save life, decrease the burden of the disease. So uh, I'm gonna have a flashback. Interesting when I listened to ex-President Trump talk about the fact that he just had COVID, and he said he wanted all Americans to have all the treatments that he had had. Well, that's not realistic because it would cost too much money. So certain benefits aren't afforded in the system just because of lack of money and lack of access. I'm not a fortune teller, but we're going to see how that's going to play out coming. I'm saying this in November. Again, 30% of folks aren't vaccinated. The children aren't vaccinated. We reverted to no mask and all that. And we think that is, again, gone away. I think President Biden has done an excellent job of doing the best he can because he was right in the middle of non-beliefs about the virus or about the vaccine in the first place, outside of uh, Project Warp Speed or Warp Drive or whatever the word was. Um, Other cancers that affect women of color, African American women, ductal carcinoma, which is cancer that is localized to the breast, and it usually is in the milk ducts. And uh, the good thing about the ductal carcinoma in situ is that it has not invaded other tissues yet, and if it's localized, it's better to treat. If left untreated, it can progress and travel, which is the concern. So again, two types of invasive breast cancer disproportionately affect Black women: triple negative breast cancer, a rare aggressive treatment-resistant form, and inflammatory breast cancer. Those are the two types. All the cancers, these are two cancers that are rare but very aggressive. And the triple negative breast cancer. So again, what this is why early treatment is important because the majority of the cancers that affect women, particularly looks like these women under 40, have aggressive features to them and need to have other ways of treating them. Uh, and again, back to what is breast cancer? Most breast cancer are carcinomas, which means that the cancer cells are derived from epithelial cells that, in the case of the breast, line milk ducts of the breast. And again, and there's they're also classified by the presence or the absence of hormone receptors, which is where the triple negative uh, diagnoses come in for women. Again, because that's how they identify the cancer in the first place. They're able to take samples and identify estrogen position on the receptors of these cancer cells in the case of the breast and milk ducts. But what they come up with is triple negative. Um, The estrogen is negative, the progesterone is negative, the HER2 is also negative too. And black women are more likely to be diagnosed with triple negative breast cancer, which can be harder to treat and more likely to come back than other forms of breast cancer. That's why screening is important, follow-up is important. Even after you get your cancer treated, you have to always follow up with the oncologist and the breast cancer surgeon. And hope he's still working. Probably not, probably is. To continue to make sure of development, and because what they do is they catalog these cancers and maybe come up with something new or find out it's a deviant cancer that needs more treatment. That's what the whole idea of this whole issue that we have now, a registry about these types of cancers, and to follow them and track them. It says that uh, about 19% of black breast cancers diagnosed in black women are HR negative and HR2 negative, triple negative, compared to 9% of Latinos, white, Asia Pacific Islanders, and American Indian, Native American. Again, when you start slicing down into, African American slash black, the effects of the cancers are much, much more aggressive as opposed to the communities of color. That's the point. Um, uh, the uh, um, the inflammatory breast cancer, also rare but highly aggressive invasive breast cancer, only accounts for 1 to 5. It only counts to between 1 to 5% of breast cancers. 1 to 5%. So if you have 100, it's only 5% of cancer. But black women are 70% more likely to have inflammatory breast cancer. 70%. Again, the most aggressive cancers that are harder to treat affect African American women, black women. My point: get evaluated, get screened, you know, uh, you know, get it done. So important. Um, and classically, with the inflammatory breast cancer, there's a dimpling in the skin called I'm gonna kill this in French. Petit de ondes, French for the skin of an orange. It's PRD onde. It's a classic sign of inflammatory breast cancer, and it develops rapidly by blocking the lymph vasculature in the breast, resulting in red swelling to the breast, vis-a-vis inflammatory. Um, and the statistics show that the 5-year survival rate for women with inflammatory breast cancer is lower than it is for white women, regardless of the cancer's hormone receptor status. So black women just tend to do worse than everybody else when they get these kinds of cancers. That's why they need to be screened, early, often, and evaluated and treated, and have a treatment team for them. This cannot be done by itself. And in terms of research, of course, uh, we need to understand the factors between, this is directly out of the paper too, health disparities, both biological, genetic differences, delays in diagnosis and treatment, and the standard of care black female patients receive, and the standard of care African American females receive, and the environmental factors that play a role. Some interesting facts: African American women both disproportionately exposed to breast carcinogens and high risk of serious health impacts of the disease. Among younger women than 45, breast cancer is higher than among African American women than white women. So, among women younger than 45, breast cancer incidence is higher among African American women than white women. Again, it just paints a younger population that is exposed to and has a more aggressive non-treatable form of cancer that needs to be evaluated early and diagnosed early and treated early with a breast cancer team. It includes an oncologist, a primary care provider, physical therapist, everybody involved, surgeon. Because if the breast requires to be removed, then there's options for that person to have a breast replacement. Things that we're not told. Even if you lose your breast, you can get a, if you choose to have another breast. So, um, um, I think that they, again, we talked about the risk factors in a paper for fatal breast cancer, and African American women, uh, white women in a large U.S. prospective study. Um, it said that higher body mass index, taller height, physical inactivity, associated with an increase in breast cancer mortality among both groups. College educated was associated with a higher mortality for breast cancer only in African American women. Isn't that interesting that African American women, and that's very specific African American women with college educations, even college educations, when they get breast cancer, they're more likely to die from it than their anyone else, any other groups. That includes white women, Asian, Native American, just African American women. Regardless of age, African American women more likely to die from the disease, um, and they were usually young, age of 45, and increased risk for higher incidence of breast cancer, high probability of recurrence, and thereby higher death rates than compared to other women. So you get the cancer, um, it gets treated, it comes back. Increased risks were found, known risks were found, increased increased risks were found for known risk factors such as decreased age, beginning of the cycle, family history, of breast cancer. It was an increased odds ratio was found in induced abortions, which is significant women diagnosed after 50 years of age. Spontaneous abortions had a small but significant protective effect. Um, Increased odds ratio was found. So I guess the whole idea of the abortion and the trauma and maybe the excursion of estrogen and progesterone that was elevated in the pregnancy starts to drop, and they would lose protection. They're probably making more risk for breast cancer. Um, uh, and there seems to be they collect this data from work applications and some of the medical insurance forms. Uh, Compared with white women, breast cancer incidence was higher among black women aged less than 60, but lower uh, among women aged greater than 60. Black women had a lower percentage of breast cancers diagnosed at a localized stage than did white women. So again, back to the breast cancer side too, because the quicker you diagnose it, if it's localized, it's easier to treat. Well, unfortunately, women of color, again, back to get your mammogram, get your get your ongoing evaluations, um, because the screening issue uh, says if we pick it up while it's localized, it's less of a risk of traveling. The longer it sits inside too, the easier can be for it to travel or metastasize through the system into the brain, eyes, brain, uh, um, the lungs, um, the bones. Among white women, breast cancer incidence was decreased from 1999 to 2004, then stabilized, decreasing 0.8% on average. However, breast cancer incidence was stable from 1999 to 2005 among black women, then not significantly increased. And I don't know about not significantly good, because if that is my patient or your sister or your mother or your niece or your aunt, then it's significant to you. Increase. Breast cancer incidence trends differed by race and age, particularly during the 1999 to 2004. I don't know what was going on there. I'd have to look at that time frame. Speaking of time frames, I'm 67, and I was born. I was 1 year old when Emmett Till was murdered. Um, um, I talk about that because, again, intergenerational trauma. I knew my mom was talking about this young man. He was a handsome young man. For him to be murdered the way he was murdered and dismembered the way he was dismembered and traumatized the way he was traumatized. And for those that had done that to go free, and for the woman that did it, her arrest warrant was never served to her. And when said, why did they serve? Because it was too old. Anyway, think about that. Um, just a thought. A movie's being previewed uh, uh, about his murder, as well as the Woman Warrior. That should be interesting. uh, I like black women in those roles. Very powerful, very strong roles. Uh, that's something we should see more of. Uh, Everything takes time. We have to be in control of our narrative. That's why I'm doing this program, because I want us to be in control of our narrative, and maybe you'll see some things that I see, because I think it's just a little bit of a bite to it. I still can't believe that uh, Herschel Walker is running for Senate and is almost tied with Warner. What is he saying that makes any sense? What is he saying? Anyway. Um, but during 1999 to 2013, among women aged 60 to 79, breast cancer rates incidence decreased significantly among white women, but it increased significantly among black women. One of the reasons is access to care. It's always access to care. It's always access to screenings. So I always did, again, I dedicated this show to a woman who wanted to do mammograms for women free of charge. Got pushed back. While I was fighting over contracts, because then when you wonder why there's a high risk of breast cancer in women, it's never brought that they can't get screened, or that the cost of screening. And even if you get screened, what do you do then? They find something. Where do you go? Who's going to be able to manage your care if you don't have any insurance? Or if the insurance you have doesn't provide for the kind of care you need? That's another issue. Underinsurance. You know, I think it's kind of interesting, the resurgence of unions, and that folks were striking not over the wages but over healthcare. Anyway, thought about that. So breast cancer mortality is approximately 40% higher among black women compared with white women, with faster decreases in death among white women. The report confirms previous findings by race and presents age-specific changes for instance of mortality by race. So black women are just dying just because African women, they're just dying because they're women of color. When you just say what's the overarching issue? Again, access, mammogram, treatment on demand, a team approach to the care, the ability to get the care, and it not bankrupt them. You know, before all this went down, the biggest cause of bankruptcy in California was medical cost. Among women, among awareness of black women are more likely to be diagnosed with triple negative breast cancer, negative estrogen, negative receptors, negative progesterone receptors, and H2 status, uh, which might have improved the likelihood they receive the appropriate treatment based on their cancer type. Precision medicine initiatives promote advanced research. One of the options that promotes advanced research in technology that enables researcher, providers, and patients to work together to develop individualized care on how the molecular structures of the cancer affecting that particular person might be attacked through treatment. It's called the cancer moonshot. I think, again, President Biden is big on this in terms of precision medicine. And again, the effect would be more effective treatment for HR, triple negative cancers, and inflammatory cancers of African American women. And again, the cancer moonshot is focused on addressing the most, President Biden cancer initiative, pressing needs for cancer control, including accelerating the understanding of cancer and its prevention, early detection, treatment. Again, get online, look in the CDC guidelines on breast cancer and breast cancer treatment. Long-term breast cancer incidence trends for Black women indicate steady increases over the past 40 years. So Black women have been trending up with these particular problems. So not uncommon, they're dying of stomach cancer for them because the trends. Hey, look here. If you see the trends are going up, wouldn't that say that we need to do more treatment in that group? Doesn't seem like that's been triggered. It doesn't seem like they talk about it. We steady increases over the past 40 years, resulting in incident rates equivalent to those among white women. So, boy, you want to catch up with somebody. You want to catch up with them in cancer rates. Well, that's what Black women have done. They're not only catching up with them, they're probably passing them from the data. It says that in-depth analysis by age, race, and period of diagnosis indicate the largest increases are seen among Black women aged 60 to 79. Hey, my age group, the golden years, the grandmother years, a lost person, a lost mother, a lost aunt, a lost grandmother. That's what we lose when uh, cancer takes one of the people that you love. And they talk about some of the issues around obesity. Again, I've asked women of color, plant-based diet, exercise. It's a part of the matrix that is a foothold for cancer of multiple types, but in particular breast cancer for some reason. The exact biological mechanism for the association between obesity and breast cancer is still unknown. Again, we don't understand why. Again, probably more hormonal issues, more work, more inflammatory triggers. Those could be some of the reasons why, you get the car started, it starts running. So the cancer cells are in us. If you accelerate them through, and give them a source to feed on, then they take off. Um, uh, so we don't understand why obesity is an issue with an increased risk of breast cancer, but it is. The increased trends might stabilize and decline by sustaining increased health interventions to increase physical activity, again, right? Promote healthy diet to maintain healthy weight throughout a woman's life, not just now, but throughout a woman. So this is the thing we're talking about now. It's what I've been talking about for the last 30 years, what I've been talking about in the initial onset of the program series, that we have to do proactive, reactive things. There's all these things we can do about our general health to take care of ourselves. Drink water, eat less meat, more plant-based, more exercise, less stress, relaxation, you know, those kinds of things. Non-drug solutions to disease process in terms of slowing them down, it not even affect you because there's a lot of triggers, right? Much of the disease decrease in breast cancer incidence among white women is believed because of decreased use of postmenopausal hormone replacement therapy based on findings from Women's Initiative. On Wednesday, Black women are more likely to be diagnosed with triple negative breast cancer, estrogen receptive, progesterone receptive, HRG status, which might improve the likelihood that they receive the appropriate treatment based on their cancer type. Um, if you're a black woman, you can't change genes, but you can make sure that breast cancer is diagnosed at its earliest, most treatable stage. If you're older than 40 with an average risk of breast cancer, this means getting a mammogram each year. If you have higher than average risk, then you have a more aggressive screening plan that starts at a younger age. Between mammograms, make sure your doctor or other health care provider got to get them done. The take-home message in the literature that I reviewed is that in order to um, prevent this, um, we have to be proactive as opposed to reactive. Uh, the websites are breastcancer.org, breastcancer.org, and again, this just gets to us the disparities in healthcare for Black women in general. And this was by Dr. P. Yodas Beam, and she focused on maternal mortality and injury rates are higher for Black females, irrespective of income and education level. Maternal mortality injury rates are higher for Black females, irrespective of income and education level. Black women are 3 to 4 times more likely to die from pregnancy related to complications than white women. Black women are 3 to 4 times more likely to suffer from a severe disability resulting from childbirth. Um, and the list goes on. Um, we have to be proactive and reactive as opposed to being reactive in our care. I think I read that statistic because it doesn't matter. You can be the smartest, best dressed, uh, figured person, female, and die. You can be the poorest, no insurance, lack of access, still die. In other words, we have to be now. I think we're going to have uh, healthcare centers, not just places where we go and we're shipped out. We need healthcare centers that includes the mental as well as the physical aspects of the care, and that are about us surviving and doing better. About we need health centers that want to beat the statistics, not just say that, oh, that's bad. I'm sorry that that's happening to that community, because when it's happening to their community, all the stops are pulled out. They have centers erected to their healthcare needs. I got about 2 minutes. I want to thank folks for tuning in. It's been a great breast cancer series, and again, the march toward precision medicine, which is medicine that really focuses on that particular person and the particular condition. And I think that uh, it talks about, uh, as a group historically understudied in cancer research, more strikingly, research found that Black women had nearly a threefold increase in the risk of triple negative cancers, which have a poor prognosis. While it is known that Black women have a higher risk of this type of breast cancer, the magnitude of the risk found in this study was impacted given the comprehensive adjustments for breast cancer risk factors in the screened population. Um, Additionally, the researchers found that triple negative breast cancers uh, were less likely to be screened, detected, and more likely than other subtypes to be diagnosed in interval cancers, so later in the course of the disease. As I began before, and we come to the last couple of weeks now, is that you have to get evaluated, you have to get screened. It just isn't necessarily a lump in your breast. It may be the breast that looks different, it's heavier. Women of color tend to have dense breasts, and so they tend not to, and we get evaluated because they just think the breasts are heavy. Self-exam is the best exam. A woman's going to find a change in her breast before she does, but even if she finds that change, she needs to have it evaluated further vis-a-vis mammogram, ultrasound, and biopsy if necessary. Um, I want to thank you for listening, tuning in. Again, I'm by no means this information is all educational, and if you have concerns, you should talk to your primary provider, uh, medical slash mental slash medical system about getting treatment and evaluating, discussing things with your providers. I want to thank you for tuning in. Ms. Howard will be back next week. Please tune up her website and be a part of the listening session that's going to happen this month. Uh, and well, it's going to be hosted by Gigi Crowder. So you might want to do the NIMBA website and sure you get the information to do this listening session. I want to wish everyone well. I want everyone to be peaceful, be thankful. I'm so blessed to be allowed to share some of my thoughts and for you to share some of your thoughts. As we're able to do more and provide more access, I'm looking forward to providing a website and a YouTube channel to see some of my discussions under Education is the Best Medicine. And for those that didn't know, the vision statement of education is the best medicine. The view of education is the best medicine is and has been and will always be to see the unseen while shedding light on the darkness in our community, in our world. I want to thank you for listening in and looking forward to our talking again next week. Thank our TV and uh, Etymology for getting the internet service going. Thanks, sir. Love you lots. We have to keep working with each other to make each other work. Uh, Thanks for listening. Uh, Take care.